Hi, welcome back to another episode of Out of the Loop. I'm Brittany,
I'm small.
and today we're talking about
Accountability.
accountability. Yay.
It seems to be a hot topic, or not, you know,
Or
however you,
not.
however you swing it.
Or nah.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. You want me to get started? I don't have anything. I mean, I do, but
why not? Accountability. You know what we should do? We should look up the dictionary definition of accountability.
okay.
I'm going to read it.
That's a good way to start.
And then we're going to talk about ways that, maybe we haven't been. I'm sorry, I can't spell.
Accountability.
It is the possession. Oh, you know what? Excuse me. There we go. It is the fact or condition of being accountable. Responsibility. Responsible. Hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself responsible. An example is the lack of accountability has corroded public respect.
Oh wow.
That's
Okay.
intense, Carol.
It's pretty.
Um,
I think that's pretty hits on the nail on the head ish.
I'm Miriam. Miriam don't be lying.
Oh, okay.
You know, she's pretty on point. No, I think accountability is important to talk about as the year is coming to an end. I think it's important to do all that great reflecting bullshit and talk about what I am going to do, what I'm not going to do. But I think that everyone moving forward, if you weren't doing it this year or ever in your life, you should become accountable for yourself, for your actions, for the way you make people feel, for the things that you say, for the tone that you take, for all of your actions. You should get into it. It's not as bad as it seems. It's almost similar to like when you have to practice boundaries, you have to start learning how to say no. Accountability has that same kind of awkward, thing to it where you're like, oh, this feels different, this is weird, I've never done that before. And I feel like accountability is one of those things where you can grow into it too. You may not realize that you weren't in accountability for things. You may not realize when you should take accountability for things. I think it's just something that comes with, it can be like a growing pain. I think it's just something that comes with maturity. I think it's something that just comes with recognizing maybe you don't want to be something that you were before. Maybe you don't want to be where you were before. Maybe even in your relationships, and not just like spouse, but like friendships, co-workers, peers, whoever, just really being able to kind of step forward into that role of being responsible for yourself, so that it doesn't have a ripple effect on the people that you interact with around yourself. But also, it's important for you to take accountability for yourself too, because I think it's just something that you should just be doing, so that you're not delulu, as the kids say. You're not walking around acting like you're not. You know what I'm saying? Like your behavior or like your actions don't have, again, ripple effects to them because you just feel like, no, that's good. I'm fine the way I am. I won't hurt your feelings.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just feel like there's that, and then I also feel like a lot of people just don't care. Like I feel like a lot of people don't care to be accountable at all of anything that they do, and I think like for me personally, there's been times where I feel like I've been a little bit too accountable of like how I've behaved in the situations with people, like, and when I say that, I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with being accountable, I would say that first, but, like, there are times when I've overly cared about how I showed up in the situation to the point of which I'm not even allowing you to be accountable for anything that you did in the situation. So, in those times, it's like, I'm not doing good by myself by being that accountable per se, because I'm totally like overlooking everything that you might have did terrible just to kind of feed into how it may have hurt you or made you feel, or how it affected you in some type of way. And as you said before, like the whole like saying no and having boundaries and those type of ways, like that's a part of that too. That's like, I guess the flip side of accountability is like recognizing where, yeah, you're being accountable for your own actions maybe in a situation, but also seeing where like the other person is not, and they don't care to be accountable. Like they literally don't care. It's a difference between, I guess, like you said, being delulu And then like also just not caring, like literally being like, I don't care how that makes you feel, like at all. Like I don't care. Like I know I do that thing. I know I'm like this, and I don't care. I don't care.
Like there's like to what you said about like almost being over accountable. It's almost like when you're doing stuff like that, it's detrimental because you're enabling people to not be accountable.
Yeah, that's a good word.
You're literally enabling someone to be like, oh no, you know what? It almost is like it's a slippery slope into like enabling, gaslighting, and all those things that kind of keep going down into that pit of not being able to take that accountability, not being able to recognize that like, okay, you know what? I messed up or I did something. It doesn't have to be like something detrimental, but it's like, okay, you know what? It's like at work, I may have forgotten to do something that might mess up a deadline or might cause everybody in the team to be affected because I didn't do what I was supposed to have done. I feel like for me, I've been accountable at work for a very long time because I've always been in positions where it comes down to me. So I've always had to be accountable. I've always had to be like, I don't say the bearer of bad news, but I've always been the person to like have to deliver bad news. I've always had to make phone calls, be like, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to da-da-da-da. I've always been the person to have to be accountable on behalf of like a company, on behalf of like a project, on behalf of whatever.
Right.
So like in my personal life, I feel like sometimes I'm accountable, but sometimes like there's a level of like genuine accountability that you need to have, and I think that I can be a little like it's like default, like, oh, okay, I recognize that was wrong, I apologize, and it's like, okay, but do you know why you're apologizing? Like, yes, it was wrong, thanks for taking the accountability, but like, do you even know, like, you know what I'm saying, like that's like almost similar to taking on too much accountability, and I guess that's like in the same wheelhouse, but it's like I'm just like, but it was
just apologizing.
It didn't fall on you, like it didn't, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
I'm used to like it's second nature to be like, well, you know what, my bad, and it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, this is like not a moment that you have to do that. Like this is actually not a moment that doesn't fall on you.
Yeah.
But I think that's like, I think that's the polar opposite end of the spectrum to someone who doesn't do it at all, or to people who may not do it at all.
Yeah, and that's why I said like the too accountable thing, because it's just like, all right, I'm almost now, like you said, enabling and now telling you like, oh, I'm sorry, just to appease the situation, even though I know that it wasn't me, like, you know, or whatever, you know, like it wasn't me personally.
All me.
It may not have been all me, or it may not have been me at all, and that's the situation I guess that I'm talking about, because this is in a lot of situations. Like if I had $1 for every time somebody came back around and was like, I'm so sorry for that situation that happened in 1962. Like literally, it'd be things that happened like 10 years ago or like in my whole childhood. And I've had people that came back around that apologized to me because they realized that they were dead wrong. And yes, great, they're being accountable now. But it's like, bro, it's been like 15 years since that situation happened, plus maybe. And now you're being accountable for the type of person you were, or maybe not even like fully being accountable, but just recognizing that I have maybe put some distance between us because of whatever situations that were consistent, and I had to be like, at this point there's nothing I could do, and I just gotta like be over here because like I tried to like make it better for you in the situation, like I said, and that's why I feel like there's times when you could be over accountable and it turns into enabling, because like I'm apologizing you to how I showed up in this conversation or in this situation, and you are not recognizing at all how maybe you did and how it contributed to how the whole thing went down. Like you said, like I might be partially accountable for a situation, but then there might be situations where it's like I didn't even do anything and you reacted a certain type of way to whatever happened in the situation, and it was just based upon whatever's going on with you. Like sometimes people have like their trauma responses that literally you didn't do anything, but that's just their trauma response to the situation, and now you have to try to like mitigate it somehow so it doesn't like go up here or go this way or whatever. And so now the way to do that is to say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm my bad that, you know, you felt that way, or that because I said this, and you know, I'm sorry, but really you didn't really do anything wrong in the situation. You didn't say anything wrong, you didn't do anything wrong, just that person responded this way and it was like super harsh or whatever, and it's like, okay, now I gotta be the accountable one for it. Like I've had people like hang up the phone on me and it'd be like nothing. It'd be like, oh, what are you doing right, or what are you about to do, or like, just like weird things like that. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry if you're having a bad day, and like, my bad if I disturbed your peace today. And it's just like, wait, I didn't actually do anything wrong. I just asked how you were doing and you got irritated and then just hung up on me or whatever. That's not my fault. Like, I don't need to take accountability for this situation. Like, I could just go about my way, go about my day, and not be that serious. And like, in the sense of that, like, of being accountable, right? Like, I had a situation that happened to me just yesterday, and I was kind of short. I was kind of like, whatever, with my friend, I was like, oh, okay, but I was tired. Like, I hadn't, like, I was tired. Like, I hadn't slept all day, and my friend called me or hit me up on something like, hey, I'm going to talk to you about this thing. But it wasn't even a bad thing. Like, they were trying to bring me some business, which is cool. I'm all for bringing me business. Thank you, son. Love you. But in the midst of it, I was like super short because I was tired and I was just trying to get through what I got to get through throughout the day so that I could get some rest later in the day. And, he knows my personality. So thankfully, he wasn't like thrown off by it at all. He was just like, oh, okay, we just about down to business real quick. All right, cool. Let's just get down to business. But then, like, afterwards, I ended up sending him a text, and I'm like, my bad. I just want you to know that I'm just extremely tired. I haven't slept all day, and I'm sorry if I was really short with you when you was on the phone. But, my bad. And he was like, oh, no, it's all good. I love you. Have a good day. It's just like, okay, cool. But I just want to make sure that I am being accountable on the other end for things that I know that I am actually being, like, weird and like my energy is just a little testy today or whatever, and it's like, I don't want you to feel like I was projecting that onto you and trying to bring that energy into your day and how the rest of your day goes, because I know people have their own things going on, and it's important to be accountable for how you show up in your energy in situations too. And I think that's the other side of it now, because I know I started off with the opposite side of not being accountable, is like being accountable for how you show up in your energy and how that affects the whole entire situation. Like if you're speaking to somebody like condescending, if you're being condescending, or you're like, just being snippy for whatever reason because you're tired, or somebody irritated you earlier, so now the next person that you're talking to you're super short with, or whatever it is, like being accountable to how that energy shows up in addition to maybe the things that you got to do at work or whatever it is, else that you got going on in your life. But like really showing up and being accountable for those things too, because it's like, okay, you're seeing things set off or like turn into whatever type of situation, but you're not recognizing how you showed up in that situation in the first place. And if you could have did something differently about how you showed up, and if that would have actually affected the outcome of the entire situation, your entire day, your entire week, your entire month, and being accountable for that, in addition to whatever other physical things that you need to be accountable for as well. Like,
I'm definitely grateful that accountability is synonymous with being responsible. I was talking about this with my friend the other day, talking about like, as I'm getting older and kind of getting deeper into like what I don't want, what I do want, bringing things onto myself, and being responsible for that, and then being responsible for being mad because you did it. Like, not just, it's a lot of conversation about other people being accountable for that, but you being accountable for yourself in terms of, like, for example, I was saying that I am a person that if I try to explain something to you, I try to show you, maybe you weren't getting it, so, I end up being like, it's okay. Actually, I'll go ahead and take care of it. You can do this other thing. And then that happens. Now it's been happening for like 2 months straight, and now it's on my plate.
Right.
And now I'm mad. I'm bitter. I don't know it yet, but I'm doing this thing. It's becoming a part of my day to day, and I'm just going about my business.
But you volunteered yourself.
And I'm taking this on, and then I started taking this on, and I started doing this, and I started doing this, and now I'm mad because I'm like, damn, my list of to-dos is this long, and everybody else is over there frolicking. Right. And it's like, well, guess what though?
You volunteer yourself.
You are responsible for that. You're responsible for that, and you can, you can get tight about it, or you can literally be like, all right, I recognize that I didn't set any boundaries, which is why I became responsible for those things. Like, I didn't set those things.
No.
I didn't put those things in place for myself. I didn't vocalize that I did need help in the first damn place. I did not do anything except for just get mad because now 6 months has passed and I'm the only one doing a damn mail. Or whatever it may be. It could be in your household, it could be at work, it could be in a friendship, it could be whatever. But I think getting to that point to be like, okay, cool, so we don't like this. We recognize that. We don't like the way it makes us feel. We don't want to do it anymore. I first am responsible and recognize that I'm responsible for how this got here, but I'm also accountable for the change and how I deliver it.
Right.
And how it pans out and how I express that and how I start to get to the place to be like, okay, can we have a conversation? Can we do whatever? I've been doing X, Y, and Z. It would be really helpful, or this and that and another, or however you have to deliver it. But I think it's very important to like, and in terms of like holding yourself accountable, it's very important to like recognize, and it doesn't have to be like, when you say accountable, I think people take that. Sometimes I think like right now in this day and age, accountability is panning out. Like when I'm on social media, people are like, be accountable for like what you say to me and this and that. I'm like, nah, sometimes, at least for me right now, the accountability I'm focused on is for myself. Like for myself in terms of like how I show up for myself, how I can, even things like you said, the phone conversation yesterday, you know, be real accountable, you know, be real responsible of you. You in that mood, don't pick up the phone in the first damn place.
And to be honest, I didn't. Like at first, I didn't.
No, not you, but I'm saying like.
No, but it's true. It's true. Like I didn't. Like I didn't at first because I knew I was like locked in. I had mad other stuff I was doing. I was locked in. I needed to do those other things. But it was actually a text conversation that turned into a phone call. So it was like, oh hey, da 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 da. I thought he was just gonna respond to the text message, and then he ended up calling me because I'm like, oh, what's up, da da da. Like you know, and I thought he was gonna just tell me what in the text message, and decided he was gonna call me and have the phone call, and I was just like, okay, now we're talking on the phone, cool, great. And honestly, I didn't pick up the phone call the first time because I was like, I need to do da da da. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna call you back. And then I called you back, and then I was in that energy when I called you back still, like you know, because I'm still tired. But like you said, like I prefer to just text. I did try. But yeah, no, that's true. That's being accountable of the outcome, or not the outcome of like how you change that. Like, okay, I know that I'm not in a good mood. I should not go around, do this around people right now. Like, I just shouldn't do that. And I personally, I know that's a mechanism that I've learned how to do. I don't know. I think it's kind of like a Leo thing in general. But I think that's kind of a Leo thing because like a lot of people that I know that are also Leo, they tend to like retreat when they're like in a roaring mode and they just want to roar at things. They're just like, you know what, let me just go over here and nice, you know, fur and just make myself feel better, and I'll come back out and graze with the rest of the people. But you know, I think that's important to like really recognize like that moment when you need to like step away or just put boundaries, like apply boundaries in a way where it's not like I'm locking you out, but I just know this is not a good time for us to interact. And honestly, you can't do that with everybody, which sucks sometimes because you just be in a mood.
I'm not responsible for that.
Yeah, you know, you're not, but I think that's one of the things with like, when I'm saying that, I mean, it's like when you're at home and you're with your family or you're with people and you're like, you know, now I'm in a space where I can't go in a corner by myself. Because y'all still here. Like, you know, I think that time is like when it's a little bit more difficult sometimes to be able to gauge how you show up in those situations because it's like I can't really retreat, you know, and you're right here. Like, you know, like, and again, I had a situation like that just this week. It's just like I'm just trying to do something, make some breakfast, whatever, and now how we escalate to an argument, I don't know. Like, you know, but again, it's just like sometimes it's unavoidable in some situations, and I think it's still important to still recognize those situations and how you could have maybe shown up differently and what you could have done differently. Like, you know, maybe I could have like just walked away sooner or whatever, you know, so it just didn't escalate to whatever. And that's just something I'll have to work on for other times, you know, but at the end of the day, like, things happen like that, and it's because you can't really avoid contact with people sometimes. and honestly, you don't always have an opportunity to come back and apologize about situations. So I think it's very important to be mindful for that reason too. I think that's something that people don't really like. Life is
Try
short.
to be mindful in real time.
Yeah, like
You know what I'm
life is
saying?
short, and
And
like
it's not about like you're not always gonna. Sometimes you're still a flesh. Like sometimes you're just going to sometimes just to naturally do what you're used to doing.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think it's reworking your thought process. It's reworking and having moments of stepping back to be like, okay, I see where this is about to go. Hold on. Like, hold on a second. Like, let me let you know I'm not trying to go there. I'm actually not trying to go, you know what I'm saying? And it does not always pan out like that. But I think like you said, I think it's just important as long as you're actively trying to do it, while you may not always get the chance to apologize, I think
yeah,
the best that you can do is try to be active in the moment if you can. If you can't,
yeah.
then,
Obviously, you're human. I don't think
yeah.
it's natural for sometimes you not be able to do that. But for the most part, I think a lot of people fly off of the handle with people sometimes, thinking that they're gonna have an opportunity to come back and say something or change something or whatever. And it's like, sometimes you don't have that opportunity, and you have to live with that, like by yourself. Like nobody has to live with that but you. And you have to think about that because people can really be filled with guilt off of situations like that they could have been more accountable for in the moment had they taken the time to do that. But now that the moment has since passed and they didn't do anything about it in the moment or even moments after, it's like, I was just watching what's his Leonardo DiCaprio. That's what it is. That movie that he did. I don't know what it's called, but it's the movie with him. He has a wife, and I guess she has a miscarriage.
I ain't gonna hold you.
I don't know the movie. I don't honestly. It's a newer movie. Honestly, I didn't watch it. No, nobody got pregnant. But yeah. So his wife in the movie was pregnant, and it's fresh in my mind because I saw a short of it like 2 days ago. But yeah, his wife was pregnant, and she they got into an argument, and it was a crazy argument, and then I guess at some point she ended up having a whole I don't know moment of I'm just gonna wake up in the morning because she's a housewife and I'm gonna cook a meal for my husband and yada yada yada, and then he was really nice to her and everything that morning, and then he left, and then all of a sudden it turned into this drastic situation where I guess she had a miscarriage, and then she was bleeding out, and then she ended up having to go to the hospital, and again he had left home and then came back to this now. So he came back to this after the day before they had the worst argument ever, basically on talking about how they hated each other, and why do you even want to have my kid, so that's why was an even more sharpening knife thing to both of them, because it's just he was hurt, she was hurt, they were both hurt, and then this situation happens, and then he's just recognizing in that moment wow, my wife is now in the hospital bleeding out, and I don't know what's gonna happen next, and I don't even know. I didn't watch the whole movie, so I don't even know the ending of that movie. You guys might know the ending, but yeah, it was just one of those moments where I'm just wow, kind of a little tear, because it's just a reminder to me of how precious life is and how quick things can change sometimes, and
staying present.
Yeah,
and thinking about things in real time. I think that's something. I know it's something that's I feel not always, but I feel there have been circumstantial moments in my life, especially when I was younger, especially as a kid, as a teenager. I have literally witnessed people just fly off the handle, pop off, and then just go the next day, just smooth it over, just put layers and layers and layers of niceness on top of it.
Yeah.
And so I think like seeing that definitely has made me be like a bit more apologetic, a bit more, I don't even say not just accountable, but like a bit more like, okay, I'm not going to go to the left because I see what this looks like. I also don't feel good to not like not say something, but like I'm not sure how you're gonna feel about it if I say something. I don't know, like I feel like it's always been a very like tricky. I can be like real quiet, especially if something's like going down like that, or I'm usually just like, okay, like I'm usually like assessing in real time, like how much is this gonna escalate? Like I see this is just going like buck wild, and it's like, okay, like
assessing real time, I think, is very important.
you know what I mean? Like I can see that. I can see why this person is upset. I can see why this person is upset. I can see why this is going on. I'm like, now I feel like, damn, in these multi-person type scenarios, I'm like, who becomes accountable for what? Who becomes the person to stand up and be like, actually, everybody shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, or you know,
and I feel like they could be anybody though. Like, I think a lot of people, and just to even say that in like other circumstances, like I told you a couple of months ago, I was on the train. This guy was getting attacked by this other guy who just took out a knife and was about to start like wielding it at this other guy, and it's just like, wow, like it felt like people were shrinking in that moment. Like, you know, like nobody wanted to be accountable.
It's literally it's like fight or flight.
Yeah, and it's like I guess like it may not have to be my place to be accountable. I just feel like, you know, again, you're assessing and seeing a situation unfold, and it's like, yo,
like do I just keep letting
or do it's none of my business, or you know, I don't gotta, you know, and then then when something does happen, everybody's like, oh, how come nobody did anything? And it's just like, you know, all those people there, nobody did anything, and like you know, and it's just.
And you just pick and choose the day that you're nobody, or you pick and choose the day that you're somebody. Like, I feel like, and I understand, because I feel like, especially during a lot of like black movements that was happening during the pandemic, like, there was a lot of people that they just couldn't. Like, people just couldn't. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't know, like, trauma responses. Freezing up is a trauma response. Not knowing what to do, like, panicking in the midst of something is a trauma response. If you have the ability to stand up and do that, that's fantastic. But if you don't, you're not any less of a person because you couldn't do it. I just feel like it's just something that you just have to build up to it. If you can, like, you gotta figure out your comfort levels for that. But you should never I feel like you should always do your best to try to at least be responsible for yourself. And if you can help someone else be responsible, or you see that there's something and it's like, no, you know damn well.
And in that situation, I feel like, for me, it wasn't nothing that I could do for that specific person who was actually trying to take out the knife. Like, I don't have a knife on me. I can't defend myself. I mean, I can do some things, but like, you know, I'm not going to put myself in direct harm intentionally knowing that somebody has a weapon like that.
But honestly, even something like people seeing stuff, all of these videos these days, people recording stuff, people are like, screaming, call 911.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. That's basically what I'm saying.
Why don't you just call 911 instead of screaming, call 911?
And that's basically what I'm saying. Like, if I had $1 for every time that I was the first person to call 911 in a situation, like I had somebody passed out when I was riding a bus between Boston and New York, and she literally just passed out, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, she passed out." I'm like, "Is anybody gonna call an ambulance for this woman?" Like she just literally dropped to the ground like this, and nobody's gonna even call an ambulance for this woman who's unconscious on the floor that was just riding the bus with us. Like, what?
It's definitely wild.
What? You know, and the same thing with the train thing. It was like everybody's just like, "Oh, I'm in the corner," but there's a whole panic button on the train. So like nobody's gonna press the button. Okay, I guess I gotta be the person to press the button.
You can't even.
Yeah, you know, it's like okay, we're gonna, and it's like all in a matter. Apparently, this thing was going on before I even got on the train. So the fact that y'all been riding with this psychopath,
this man walking
around, literally, like straight drunk out his mind, wheeling a knife, and nobody, not
even, and even if you don't, I'm not telling you to go up. I'm not telling you to
not press the button.
I'm disclaiming, I am
press
not
the
telling
button.
you to do.
How did I get on the train and y'all been on this train and this been going? Nobody pressed the button. He's been trying to assault this man.
Conductor's at least 4 boots down, my guy.
Like, come on, like, I mean,
transit be rolling up on people, on bikers.
Right, and mind you, they did.
Don't even
after
matter,
I pressed the button, finally, after the man got away, finally they came, and it was just like, bro, you know. But again, that's what I just feel like, you know, people. Again, you can only hold yourself accountable, but there's also situations like where you got where there's levels to it, and like it's like, okay, I think accountability holds weird places in different situations because it's like, who's accountable for this? Like,
it's hard. It's hard. It's like it's not I guess it depends on what you consider difficult, but it can be.
Who's responsible to say something?
If you've not been a person to do so, it can definitely feel like heat to the. It could be like, I feel like when you feel that, it's probably because it's you that you can make a difference. You can do something about it. You can. Maybe you're scared. Maybe it's something. It's foreign for you. It's foreign. Like our bodies literally generate chemicals to let you know, like this is new. Mm-hmm. This is different. This is like something I've never done before. But you know what? I'm getting a signal. I'm getting a response that's telling me like I should probably do something about this. Like okay. And I feel like it's just it's just like with anything. Once you get used to doing so, I think you can begin to decipher like when and what and how and in your best capacity.
Right.
Like there's no rule book on responsibility, but I think you can use your morals to kind of sort that out.
Yeah, and I think and that's like in those situations, I think those are moral accountability type situations. Like, am I being accountable with my morals? Like, and how I really want to show up for other people, how I want people maybe to show up for me in a situation like this. Because it's like if somebody was wielding a knife at me and I'm by myself and there's a train car full, and again, I've been in this situation before myself where a crazy person was trying to attack me on a train car full of people and nobody really paid. I'm pretty sure somebody pulled out the phone and started focusing it on me before. And this is in New York City. We're in Boston right now. This was in New York City when this happened to me.
Mind your business.
Yeah, like the home of mind your business.
Something crazy happening on the train all the damn time.
Taking your camera out and videoing it. And there's been multiple situations where I've had to be that person because again, it's a moral responsibility, a moral accountability. It's like I have these set of morals. And now there's a situation is showing up where I got to be accountable and show up for that. Mm-hmm. But I want to say in the sense of and going back to what you said earlier about working type of accountability, again, I'm very entrepreneurial. So there's been a lot of situations where, and I've actually had to revisit some of these in terms of in my mind of how they went down, because there's been a lot of situations in which I have had to be accountable as a business owner. And it's one thing when you're working for somebody and you're being accountable for their business, but then when it's your business, it's like a whole other gut-wrenching feeling, especially if you are morally accountable in certain types of ways. It's like, okay, I dropped the ball on this for real, and I did not think I was going to drop the ball on this, but somehow I still dropped the ball. And then also really going back and figuring out what you were doing to drop that ball and working on how to fix that, for real, because for me, it was a lot of time management things. It's okay, I think that I can do this in this much time, but realistically, I need to give myself maybe a little bit more time. If I'm talking to a client or whatever, and I'm hey, you want to get this thing done? All right, I need to give myself a huge window of time to do these things because I don't know what might pop up. I know I could probably do this in a couple of days, but realistically, I have other things going on. I have maybe I have another job on top of doing this. Mm-hmm. Maybe I have a couple of projects in line. I just got to be realizing that, hey, I know it might take me maybe something just happens, anything could just happen. And then I might get sick, and that's happened. I might get sick and now I can't work for 2 weeks or something like that because I'm sick, or I got to catch up on things because I was sick 1 week and now I got things backed up. It's all types of scenarios that can occur, that have occurred, that I've seen occur, that I have to be accountable for, period. There's nobody else to pass that on to. Right. It's just me. And if I didn't show up and communicate something to you in a certain type of way so that you had certain expectations of the situation from jump, now it's all on me if I didn't do that, because
I'm responsible for managing those expectations. I'm responsible for that communication. I'm responsible for letting you know, hey, I know we originally discussed X, Y, and Z. It's more looking like this time frame. If I can, I will, but it's looking like something, and I feel like that stuff is if you've not done it, or if you're just not used to it, it could feel oh God, I don't want to let this person down. I don't want to do this, but I feel like it's worse if you don't. It's worse if you just don't be honestly, it's not going how I thought it was. Yeah, way worse. Then it funnels into and like you said, that's your business. It's that's your reputation. That's your money. That's your everything.
Yeah, and and I can say personally, it has. I wouldn't say affected my business in the sense of like nobody wanted to do business with me because of some of the things. Because in a lot of situations, I've been like, I guess, I don't say, what's the word I'm trying to say? I've been not grateful. What am I trying to say? Thankfully, I've not had to have people who are like, fortunately, I guess, yes, whatever. Fortunately, I've been fortunate enough to not have people who went and blasted me on social media and certain things like that. Because I see that a lot too.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people not being accountable now to the response to that because it's like, hey, you messed up bad in this situation and you need to be accountable now. Like, you know, you actually, you didn't respond appropriately or you didn't respond at all or whatever. And you need to be accountable for that.
And
like,
I will not name drop. Mm-hmm. There's a very popular woman on Instagram who does a lot of cool, what's it called, upcycling, thrifting. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine spent good money, because her things are expensive, good money, months, days, weeks, months, one little email trickle, maybe sent like one product, more months. But this person is still posting, still advertising their business, still selling things, still doing stuff. Meanwhile, my friend has spent a chunk of money. We're almost halfway through the year. Never got her money back. Never got the full product. Had to go, and it's like, it's messed up because
tell me when this is offline.
it's messed up because it's like, one, I want to support you because you're black. I'm black. We black. You're doing fantastic things. Like, I love your stuff. I'm enjoying you. I love you. And it's like, this is messed up. I don't want to have to go to PayPal and report this. I don't want to have to go. I know what that does to your business.
Yeah, right.
What else am I supposed to do?
And then, like, I want to say on the flip side of that, and that's basically what I was saying before, because it's like, I've had to be accountable for stuff like that in the sense of like, all right, I told you I was going to get this done by this time. And it's a hard stop. Like, there are some clients where you're just making them something, whatever, they can get it whenever. And, you know, I mean, you still need to have it done by a certain date that you said you were going to have it done by. But if something happens and it needs to be a day or two, it's maybe not be that serious. And that happens for every business. Like, we've done enough customer service to know that sometimes things happen for every business and it don't get there on time for whatever reason. And sometimes it's okay for the customer because they got stuff going on, whatever, they don't need it, but it's not that timely and whatever. So
project management is literally years of me going an approximate ETA.
Yeah.
Like, that's the
hard on the approximate.
It
should.
Estimated time of arrival.
Not definitely.
Here's your window.
Not it will. It should get it between this time and this time.
I'm responsible for not overselling and getting you to a point where you're riding my ass because I said this. But I'm also responsible for still providing fantastic service and doing what I can on the back end to make sure that your things are aligned and you get them on time. But not getting myself to a point where I'm going to be in trouble because I oversold and now I overpromised and now I'm under delivering. Yeah. And that's basically what I'm saying. It's like, I've had situations where honestly it's been, I've known that I gotta be better at not over promising or under delivering in terms of especially like timeliness. But on top of that, it's now recognizing where the customer is not doing what they have to do so that you can do what you have to do. And being like, I guess, accountable enough in the communication and needing to say, hey, you didn't do this thing, so it's going to make it difficult for me to do this thing for you. And needing to do that with your customers so that now you don't have to turn around and be more accountable for how it breaks down if it doesn't go how it was supposed to go because they didn't show up and do this or do that or whatever. Because that's sometimes an issue too. Like, I've had people, that's why I'm saying this is the PayPal thing, and it's like, I've had customers who like have literally gone to PayPal, taken their money back. And it's like, hey, like, you, and I understand that I really, really disappointed you. I get that. But I remember being very clear about setting certain dates, times, whatever, that you needed to show up for things, and you didn't. And it pushed me back in a way that I could have easily done some of this stuff in a more comfortable timeline. But because I had to reschedule certain things week, 2 weeks later, whatever, now those 2 weeks, I can't do anything because we missed a whole important appointment.
And it's like if I've had to do that with the client, it's like, oh, it's only like one day, maybe rescheduling, not a whole 2-3 weeks apart. So, just me recognizing that and saying like, hey, you know what? That client wasn't accountable of the timeline. And you needed to communicate that with them so that they wouldn't be disappointed when you underdelivered because you couldn't, because you weren't given the proper time to do what you needed to do. And now that they're upset about the outcome, that's not on you. That's still on them because they needed to show up. And you have to be clear and communicate that, because when those situations pop up, people upset, or because they didn't get their thing at this time, now they're cussing you out because you didn't do this right or you didn't do that right. And it's just like, hey, you know what? I remember telling you that we needed to have these things done by these dates so that we can get this done by this time. And you didn't show up for those things. So like I've had to make sure after that bigger situations to reiterate that, communicate that with people along the timeline so that they knew that, hey, oh, my bad, I missed this day. Okay, well, you need to hurry up and come and see me, because if you do not do it by this time, it's going to make it extremely difficult for me to get this done on time for you. Mm-hmm. Like don't just willy-nilly think you're just going to show up a week 2 before and I'm still going to be able to somehow pull it off for you. That's not how it works for me. Mm-hmm. I don't work like that, and being accountable of whatever you're doing to that much extent where you make sure, and that's where it kind of goes back to like kind of holding other people accountable, but because you're trying to hold yourself accountable, and the fact that you can only do but so much, and that's a real thing right there, and just really being able to like nail that out to people. And I think it's taken me years to have to be able to really like learn that. I had to go through situational things, because I think that again, working for other people, have learned to be extremely accountable in that other way. But it's difficult when it's your own business and now you have to apply all the policies and rules and write them and communicate them and do all of that for yourself. Yeah. And knowing what that is sometimes is difficult, like until you start going through the process and realizing, oh shoot, I need to communicate this better. I need to do this better. And so then you have to apply it and actually apply it, because like you said before, if you don't, things are only going to get worse.
Sure will.
It's only going to get worse. It's only going to keep going downhill from there.
And honestly, saying no is a good.
That's a good thing too.
Saying, like, being able to have the foresight, or just like really being able to like take a second and be like, I'm looking at my schedule. I'm looking at my to-dos. I can't. That's extremely accountable, because I feel like it also helps manage expectations of you. Your expectations of yourself, but also expectations that others may have of you, because maybe they're used to, or maybe they're like, oh, you always do, you always can, or
that part.
I know I can go to, because you probably bang that out, or whatever. I know it's last minute, but is it possible for you to? No, because I don't want to sully anything between us. I don't want to disappoint. I don't want to not be able to give my best of what I can. I don't have the means to give you something good, so I can't.
Yeah, and sometimes people feel a way about that though too.
No, they definitely do, and I feel like there's and to what I was saying, like when I was saying sometimes you're not responsible for that. Those are the scenarios that I'm referring to, because I feel like I cannot manage how you feel about me genuinely being like, I know you really wanted me to do something for you. I cannot in good faith, I cannot good moral say I can do this for you. Right. It's very responsible of me to tell you no. It's worse for me to tell you yes, struggle, mess myself up, mess your thing up, ripple. And if you're tight about it, I care for you, I apologize, but I'm not responsible that you're tight about it. Because I told you I did the things that I needed to do. I told you the truth, I told you the why, and I let you know that I'm not comfortable with it. I feel like this is the part in friendships, relationships, whatever ship that you're on, for that person to be able to assess, like, and you're entitled to be tight. Dude, just feel how you need to feel.
Yes and no.
You know what I'm saying? Feel how you need to feel.
Yes and no.
If you feel that way, that's how you feel.
Like, I guess you're entitled,
But I think that in good conscience, a person, even if it's for a second, they could be like, actually, no, I got you.
Yeah, because I think being accountable of the fact that other people have lives and things going on is like,
entitled doesn't mean you're right though. I just said you're entitled to feel how you feel.
No, you are entitled to feel how you feel. I just think that is definitely like, that's a personal accountability thing in itself. It's like, because I feel like even with myself, I've had to learn to not be irritated or upset when somebody like disappointed me in some type of way. And it's just like, whatever it was, I've had to learn to do that. And I feel like I've learned that a lot younger than some other people have. But I've had instances where people were upset with me because I had to say no. And then I was like, did that thing I said earlier where I was like overly apologetic for the thing that, and it's like, but then I had to learn that no, like I don't need to be apologetic about this. No. Like, and I don't,
so
and I don't care how you feel
more
about
stuff
it.
you need to do. And it's like, no.
Yeah, it's just, that's it. Like, this is it. Like,
No is a full sentence.
Yeah, like saying no. And again, I've had to apply a lot of no's to people because what you were saying was really key is like you recognizing that you created this because you always show up like this for people. So people just get accustomed to this type of way that you're showing up. And so it's like you're not setting those clear boundaries and saying, hey, like, this is too much for me. I know I said I could do this before, but I got this other stuff going on now. And this might have always been something that I had going on, maybe even. And once I set this on my plate, I realized now everything's super chaotic for me. And
you begin to prioritize.
Yeah, as we said before. Yeah, now you have to prioritize and, be accountable for prioritizing whatever you got going on in your life and knowing that, like, if they feel a type of way about that, that's not your responsibility. Like, that's not on you. Like, you have to prioritize and take care of what is important for you to take care of. And if other people feel a type of way, but you still do have to be accountable that, like, you may not be able to just drop the whole thing that you took on before. It's like, I know that I said I'll do this thing for you, this thing for you, but now I see how chaotic it is. Okay, now I have to call you or talk to you about how we can transition this off of my plate because it's not realistic for me to do this for the next 6 months. So in the next month or two, we need to figure out how to transition, or maybe there's some event or something that's going on that we're leading up to. So after that thing, we're gonna have to detransition this to somebody else, like, because I cannot handle this all by myself, and it's just not working for me right now. And I'm not gonna let myself feel guilty about that. We're just gonna need to work on another way to do this, because that's when you start getting comfortable on a no, in a sense. That's another type of no. It's like, yeah, I said yes before, and yeah, I know you're used to me showing up like this and doing this, but now I need to really focus on these things for myself, and I'm going to pivot to that. And by doing that, I gotta set these boundaries, be clear, communicate with you, say, hey, this is not working for me anymore, and I gotta go over here and do these other things.
And it's very healthy to do so. Like, it's very healthy. I think it's just, I think pleasing people is normalized. It's a lot of, like, I think it's normalized to support has become normalized, but there's no margins or meters on the capacity of how you provide it. So, people almost make you feel bad for it if you can't. But support shows up in many different ways. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, you just gotta be responsible for yourself. And you just gotta be responsible for how you show up in the world. And you do your best to, I feel like, just be vocal, be kind, be straightforward. But, like, don't be an asshole about it. You just be...
be straightforward, be vocal about it. And I think, again, that's the part of the guilt that most people have a hard time learning how to vocalize it. But, it only goes downhill from there if you don't. And for me, I found that when I decided to get over that whatever fear of communicating or vocalizing with people, honestly, it went a lot better than I would have even thought in my mind it would have went when I spoke to people.
Too. You definitely fear, like,
like, disappointing people, or just feeling like, okay, well, maybe you won't have anybody else to do this if I can't do it.
It's like a crippling feeling.
But I've learned that a lot of people are like, you know what? I'm glad that you did that because now you're teaching me how to do that. Like, I've had a lot of people who have been felt like it's...
cool, thank you for telling. Actually, you know what, but you're right. You know what, I probably need to... I ain't gonna hold you. I shouldn't be doing this thing for that person in damn way.
Exactly.
But,
Like,
they come to you because somebody put something on their plate. It'd be like...
Right, like, I've had to like, circumvent in certain situations for people and be like, oh, no, I think they got enough going on. They maybe need to focus on that. And let's have somebody else do that.
You could ask X,
or is there anybody else who can volunteer for this in the group? Because and I've, in the sense of what I was saying is I've had people come back around and be grateful that I vocalized that for them, because for whatever reason they couldn't do it for themselves in that moment. But again, it's come from practice that I can do that more now and be like, nah, that I can't. Nope, nah, I can't do that. And it's actually lighting my load so much. It's taking so much weight off of my shoulders. I feel so much better. I feel like I can actually accomplish the things that I want to accomplish. Yes.
Come to the fields in white pants.
No, but like I really do. It's brought a sense of ease to me, and knowing that like I'm being clear in the communication on what to expect from me, and knowing that my boundaries, my upper limits, and sometimes I can't actually push myself that hard, but knowing that like it's uncomfortable for me to do that, and it's better for me to just pull back a little bit and allow myself to breathe, not overindulge in this or that, yada yada yada. Like just knowing it's just healthy. It's healthier for me. That's the best word I can use. It's healthy for me to put maybe some space in between everything that I, if I got 10 projects going on, like, making sure that I have a little space in between them so that it doesn't end up consuming me to the point where I'm not even taking care of myself, like, those type of things. But being able to be accountable of how I play into the action of all of that, how I show up in all of that, has been able to give me more peace in situations, and like, how people may feel about me. It is what it is to a certain extent sometimes. And then sometimes people have a greater sense of respect for me because I have vocalized and been communicative about what to expect from me and how I'm going to show up, and the fact that I can't do certain things or that it might be too much for me or whatever. It's like, wow, cool, this person is responsible, and being able to tell me that this doesn't work for them. So now I can be able to find somebody else who can actually take care of this for me in the timeline or however I need it done. I can do that.
I feel like this year, in these last several years, if I had $1 for every time I was like, actually, I can't. I'm not gonna hold you. I can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'd at least be able to book a few vacations.
I'm dead.
Yeah. As long as I don't want to, it's just because I had to be real. Like I'm not well, or was not well, or was not fit. Like couldn't do it. Can't even give you. Sometimes it was like I had the time to do it. I didn't have the mental capacity to do it. I was not feeling 100%. I don't like giving out a product. People are like, oh, well, you could just you just do whatever. It's gonna be fine. It's going to be fine for you. It's not gonna be fine for me because I'm not doing it. I'm not. Yeah. You don't want, if you've already received something top tier for me, and now you're asking me to do something when I'm not. Yeah. I'm better to tell you no. Yeah. I'm much better to just tell you no. It is. Better to stop and just be like, you're not checked in. You know you're not, so stop. And it's not like to say you won't ever get back to it. It's not to say that like maybe you don't even know, like if you give yourself a chance instead of trying to work. Some things are important to power through, yes, but sometimes it's like you're trying to put like a square into a triangle. It's not going. And you need to like step back. Like you're responsible for stepping back and being like, okay, wait a minute. Like why isn't this working? Like what is going on? Like is it something here? What is the disconnect for me? And what's going to help me get myself back into a place where it does feel seamless again, and I do feel good enough to be like, okay, yes, now I can take this on, now I can do this. Like you said, recognizing to give yourself like space in between instead of, taking things back to back to back. Because I feel like we just, in a day and age of like, I don't say like we feel like we have to, but a little bit. Like feel like we have to like, okay, what's next? And instant, eternal, but fast. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think about things in terms of like fast fashion, Amazon too. Everything is instantaneous. Everything is like, all right, well, cool. I can't get it from you. I'm gonna go over there. I'm going on Shein. I'm going on Fashion Nova. I'm going like it's like damn. Like you know what I mean? Like damn. I'm seeing that that's possible, but I'm not going to like allow my product. I'm not going to diminish anything that I'm doing just because if you can get over there. I've had to learn, especially like in business. If somebody hits you with I can just go over there and get it. Respectfully, good for you. Not good for you in a condescending way, but I understand. I'm glad it's available for you too, and you should. Or if I may give you a referral of at least somewhere else you can go that's better quality. But the answer still remains that I cannot do it.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that specifically because I was thinking about all the scenarios in which I have to say no to people sewing stuff or whatever, like people wanting me to hem their pants. No, but then there was somebody who I was laughing at it in a like post that I saw of somebody else who sews, and we were talking about all the things that we say no to people all the time, and like but being accountable that yes I can do that, but I don't want to do that, and I'm not gonna do that, and like you said earlier, like it'll be people who come and like. Again with clothing, it'll be like, oh, they come with this picture of this dress that somebody else made,
do a real quick for me,
and it's like, oh, hey, can you do this for me?
It's just a little ruffle on
Can you?
It's just a little,
and not even a real quick thing. It's just like, can you do this for me? And it's like for some designers and people who make clothes, they don't want to make anything else that somebody else made. It's like, why didn't you just go and get it made by the person you got that picture from? Where did you get that picture from? Okay, go get it made by that company. Go do it there. Like, why are you coming to me? Do you think it's gonna be cheaper? Do you gonna like what are you expecting that you couldn't have just went over there? And on top of that, like again, it's just to some designers they just be like, I don't want, and I'm like that too. Like if you bring me somebody's pictures of something else that somebody else made, I'm gonna want to flip it and make it your own, make it our own. Like we're not gonna make it exactly like this picture because that's not the business that I'm in unless it's a suit or something like that. Like, a suit where it's like, okay, it's a suit. Like, like I can't make a suit in another type of...
Change the color.
Yeah, I can change the color of it a little bit, the textures, but there's not too much...
You want a three-piece suit.
Yeah, three-piece suit is a three-piece suit. Like, but like...
double breast.
Yeah, we can double-breasted versus single, from the other picture or whatever. But it's still Right, I'm like it's still a suit is a suit, but in terms of other things that people come to me with, it's like, hey, like okay, that's a good idea, but let's make it our own because that's what I do here. I'm not trying to, because again, sometimes it's disrespectful to the other person who made it. It's like and I'm being accountable for that. Like I'm being accountable. Yeah, I can make some money off of this, but being accountable for the situation is understanding that hey, somebody might see this and be like, wow, why did you just copy my whole thing?
Yeah, you hold the responsibility.
Yeah.
That's another moral responsibility in my opinion.
Yeah.
Knowing that you can't put out 100% of your work is a moral responsibility for that. Knowing that you're not trying to copy or duplicate or do something that's
right.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I stand on that. So
yeah. Well, with that said,
I'm accountable for going to bed.
Yeah.
Past my bedtime. I'm responsible for taking my ass to bed.
Past my bedtime too, and I got
my sweater.
A little something else to record before I go to bed, so I am accountable to go to sleep as well. So, anyways, it was nice.
Y'all be well. Y'all be accountable out here.
Bye.